Hey, this is Tony D from Nonymous Games, and today I'm going to talk to you about Absolute and the evolution process from our own prototypes all the way up to what we're producing and what's coming out of production this month, as well as what we plan in the future for this game. So the first thing I'm going to say is when you're designing a game, you don't need to get too far into the weeds of what does it need to look like, what does each component have to have, what graphic design do I need. Slow down, that stuff is great, you need to do that, you need to get into it, but the first thing you need to do is prove your game can work. So when we started, all I had were these cardstock printed versions of the cards. Very simple, very basic. I was testing out font sizes, and mostly what I was testing out was the gameplay mechanics themselves. How does the game play using positive and negative cards? What are the rules for the zero cards? How does the swapping work? We went through many playtest rounds, weeks and weeks, actually, well, I should say months and months, before we even said, okay, you know what, the game is working. Now we need to see if it actually plays with a deck of cards and how it feels when you have good cards. So we went from these basic cards to our first prototype. Now we wanted that duality feel to show both the positive and negative cards in one together. We wanted a sense of tension with the game. So when we have the card design, we did the same thing with an inverted color scheme for both the positive and negative cards. And from there, we had a full bleed look. We used a US game deck size card, which is slightly smaller than a poker deck. The reason why we went with the US game deck at first, I'll tell you more about that later, is because we thought that with 88 cards, or 88 cards in this deck, it would be a little harder to shuffle than a regular poker deck size. Turns out that's not the case, but that's how where we were starting. Anyway, this design was we're really liking it. Our playtesters were really liking it, but we found a flaw. And this is why you do prototyping and you test all this way before you release it. The first flaw was that you notice it has a full bleed. It goes all the way to the edge of the cards. Looks great. But on the side of the cards, when multiple positive or negative cards were stacked together, you can actually almost tell whether a potential negative card or positive card was going to be coming up next in the deck. That wasn't going to fly. Most of our beta testers didn't actually notice that, but we did. We knew we had to correct it, so we did. So the next thing we did was just that. Next prototype was US Game Deck again. We also worked on the fonts in this one. Some of our numbers, like for example the 7 card, looked kind of like a 1, so we made it more distinct. The 0 cards were more distinct now with the slash design, and actually that became our the Absolute logo. And now you notice that we have a full border around every card. And what this does is it makes the edges of the cards consistent, so that no matter which card side you're seeing on the edge of the deck, you can't tell whether it's a positive or negative card. Now, you might see that there's some variation between the light and dark sides, and that's only because the backs of the cards are split into also a black and white side, and so when the cards rotate, you'll get some variation, but it doesn't indicate that it's a positive or negative card, and that's what we were going for. So this worked out very well, but again, we're still testing, and in order to make sure that we're doing the right thing, the very next thing we did was we tested our cards as a poker deck. Now, once we got the poker deck cards, we knew we were onto something. It felt right. It had a nice heft in hand. When holding the cards, they felt good. And that's really what you were going for. You wanted the game to feel nice as you played. We did not have the shuffling issues that we thought we would encounter with having 88 cards in a poker deck. It is still a large deck, but there are bigger games than this that have even more cards that are also poker-sized. Or that are even US deck sized, and then those are harder to shuffle than this. So we went with the poker size. It felt great. It looked good. The color schemes were great. So finally, for our production, that's where we ended up with. We ended up with our bordered card set with our positive and negative cards. The symbology and the fonts have all been nailed by now. And then the other things we were working on while doing this was the packaging. Once we got to the stage where we knew the card design just about made sense, we then worked on how the packages would work. At first we went with something like this, which is what's called a hook box. And the benefit here was that we didn't have to have separate instructions. The box itself would have the instructions, but we were worried that the hook itself would actually end up wearing down, or opening and closing this box would end up having the box wear down so the cards would fall out. Didn't want that. We wanted something that would be reusable, last, and that'll be easy to read as well. So that went away. Next, we went to our standard tuck box. This is for the Poker Stars deck, standard box size, and we moved the instructions over to a folding folio. This allowed us more room than the hook box, but it still didn't feel like it allowed us enough room for all the instructions, and not for all the instructions per se, but the examples that we wanted to convey so that it's actually clear and easy to see. So again, we went back to the drawing board and kept testing. This is what you do when you're developing. The very next box, which is actually now the production box that's coming out, this one has a matte finish, which has a much easier visibility in direct light, less reflectivity. It feels really nice also in the hand. We moved from the folio to an actual small booklet, still about the same dimensions, but now we have more pages as well as a table of contents, so you can go through and see and find exactly what instruction you need. And that's the production model that's coming out, the one that we're releasing to all our Kickstarter backers as well as to the public after that. But we're not done. That's only version 1. Version 2 of the game is already in the works, where we're moving from this standard poker size tuck box, to a wider 5x7 inch box, which will allow this instruction booklet to go from this 2.5 by 5.5 inch size to about a 5x7 inch size, a little smaller than that, but that will give us a lot more room to show examples with actual card imagery as opposed to just using the text and iconography. And so it'll be more visually appealing. It'll also have better shelf presence. Since we were self-funding this project when we started, we were planning on producing this whether we did the Kickstarter or not. We were limited on our budget, and so we went with a box that would just fit everything. It is compact and easy to fit everything, but for the next version, we want to have a little more space, a little more room, a little more visual on the instruction booklet, some wow appeal on that look and feel. And beyond that, we're also working on other game versions, play versions that we're going to be releasing on the website as well, thanks to some of our supporters from Kickstarter who gave us great feedback, and some of our play testers as well, who gave us ideas on alternate versions of of gameplay. So we're going to be testing those in the coming months and hopefully releasing those to you as well. So that just shows you an example of how you go from this all the way to this in a matter of 8 months or so of development and testing, hundreds of play tests to get you there. It's not a short journey. It's not for the faint of heart. You will have a lot of times where people are saying, hey, this does not work. I don't get it. Some of that is going to be the game design. You have to make sure that that's not the case, that you're looking at your game design critically, regardless of how much you like the way it plays. It might not work right once you get beyond how you perceive the game. The other side to think about that is also how others take on certain games. Not every game is for everybody. Some people just don't get games that involve math. Other people don't like games with too much strategy. This game has a little bit of math and a lot of strategy. It starts simple, but as you play, that strategy evolves and you realize there's more and more you can do to both affect the other players at the table and to make your hands even better. So we look forward to you experiencing that and learning more about that, but just want to show you an example of how a game evolves when you're designing. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care.